Welcome back to Okano's Kitchen. I'm really jazzed today to share another menu with you. And before I begin, I just wanted to tell you that the word that comes to mind to me today before I cook is the word dharma, which I know means many things in many cultures, but to me, what it means and kind of sums up what I think of when I cook food is learning, practicing, and realizing. So let's begin. Of course, we're going to start with samurai bread. In fact, I just took this out of the freezer. So it's kind of, day old, month old, whatever, but it's still going to be great. And we're going to use it today to make a bruschetta with an artichoke and white bean dip. And then we're going to, actually the main part of this day is making tamales. And I learned how to make tamales because my husband Phil adores them. And he likes to say that I'm a personal chef and he's the person. So these tamales are for Phil. I learned how to make them on my own, and I think tamales are one of those family recipes that everybody has a twist on, so I'm going to show you mine. I'm making them with some local to Vermont pork that was raised by a farmer friend of ours that's grass-fed organic pork, and I'm going to put some black beans in there and some corn and spinach, and then I'm going to show you how to basically roll them, put them in the masa, and put the filling in and roll them up and steam them. And then to serve with that, we're gonna have a quinoa salad tabbouleh, actually quinoa tabouleh, and you call it tabbouleh is a Middle Eastern dish. And one of the main distinctive flavors in that is mint and lemon, olive oil, salt and pepper. I come from also a family of Lebanese people who ate a lot of tabbouleh. So let's get started. I'm going to start with a samurai bruschetta that we can eat as an appetizer. So I'm going to cook. You can see the samurai bread has kind of lost its punch, it's lost its crust, but we're not going to care about that because what we're going to do is slice up this loaf. So never throw it away. As I talked about in other episodes, it also makes great croutons. So cube it up, basically the same method. So we're going to slice this bread up, then I'm going to go to the stove and I'm going to show you how to just fry these pieces of bread up. I've got quite a bit of olive oil in the pan because it's going to soak up and brown these pieces of bread. You could sprinkle in a little garlic powder, some herbs. I'm going to get the rest of this bread and just fill up this pan with these pieces of samurai bread that are going to make a delicious bruschetta. So wait till that gets hot and just wait till that starts to sizzle a little bit. I'm going to sprinkle some salt. And then at the end, I'm just going to rub the pieces of bread like they do in Italy with just a garlic clove. Yummy. So samurai bread bruschetta, nicely browning in this pan. I put in a couple of garlic cloves to just season it up a little bit more. And look I'm flipping them over and they're looking nice and brown. So I'm going to turn that off and bring it over so we can put a little bit white bean and artichoke dip. Yummy! Well, if you have people in your kitchen waiting around for you to make dinner, it's always nice to have a little something to nibble on, and these are samurai bread bruschetta. Nice and hot, flavored with garlic. If you love garlic, you can even taste a little raw garlic and rub it on. Yum, yum. And then here is my, believe it or not, you can freeze this dip because we use this in the mountains. We take this up for our guests at high camp. It's a white bean, artichoke, fresh rosemary dip that you just put in a food processor. You can get the recipe in my cookbook. Artichoke, lemon, garlic, fresh rosemary, white bean, bruschetta, samurai bread. Okay, so now we're going to work on my version of a tamale filling, which is starting with some white onions, sauteed, and then I'm going to add this pork that I've actually slow cooked for several hours in an enchilada sauce broth with onions and spices. You have to cook, this was a pork shoulder, so it's got a big bone in it, which is what gives it all the flavor. And you're going to cook that for, 2 or 3 hours until it falls off the bone. Important thing is that you keep the broth that the pork cooks in because you're going to use that for your masa. And you can, I'm also going to use it to flavor this inside of the tamale. So I'm going to take that pork, this is cooked, and I'm going to let that cook actually in the broth from the original cooking time. So this is just the broth from the pork. I'm going to season that with some cumin, maybe a tablespoon. A little chipotle peppers in adobo, which I've sliced up. Now these are very spicy, so you know, it's all according to taste. They come in a little jar and they come sort of, the peppers are individual and sometimes one is enough. But I think this particular batch of pork can probably handle a little bit more spice. So I'm going to turn that up. And you're going to let this kind of cook down because you want the sauces to meld together with the pork. You want the liquid to cook down because it'll be too sloopy otherwise for the inside of the tamale. I'm also going to add in some black beans. I'm just going to do it with my hands. You don't necessarily want all that black bean juice. I just like to take my time at this stage because I really want the sauce to thicken on its own, which it will do. It takes probably about an hour, and you just, if it starts getting too dry, just add a little more broth, taste it. I'm going to taste it right now to see how my spice is doing. Oh, yummy. Yeah, it's really good. So that, after it cools a bit, is going to be ready for us to begin filling the tamales. I like to take my time with this part because I really want the flavors to come together, the pork and the pork broth, and the spices, the cumin, the salt, and I want the black beans to soften, and the onions. I just want it to all come together into a really delicious taste. And this is looking good. The sauce is thickening up. You can see how it thickens on its own. And I'm going to taste it just to make sure that I got the right seasoning. And you can taste the chipotle peppers. They're not too spicy. And now I'm going to turn that off and add in just some fresh spinach, little greens, and that'll just wilt on its own and soak up a little bit of the liquid, and then I'll be ready to fill the tamales. Let me stir that in so you can see how it just kind of briefly cooks. I kind of like it when spinach is still a bit raw and it keeps its green color, as opposed to cooking it so long when it gets brown. So look at that. That looks like a beautiful filling. And you know, if you didn't feel like stuffing a tamale, you could just eat this over some rice. All right, this is looking amazing. Okay, are we ready to roll some tamales? I just wish I had my 4 kids here to help me because this is kind of a group project, but I'm not going to make that many. Normally I probably would make several dozen because while you're in the groove, you might as well be in the groove. So I'm just going to do a couple. Now, one of the things that you need are these corn husks that you buy in a lot of grocery stores. You might have to go to a grocery store that has more Latin foods, but you get these corn husks and soak them. They come dry, so you soak them up in a little bit of water, and so that they become pliable. Then you have the masa. When people make masa in lots of different ways, I like to make it with some butter or a vegetarian butter supplement, but you need something to bind the masa. So it's basically butter or some sort of fat and the broth from the pork that we save, and we mix that up in a mixer, and I added in some fresh corn that I had left over in the fridge and a little cumin. So we're going to take a little bit, like about a handful of the masa, and you're just going to put that and mush it in the corn husk. Now, if somebody is watching this that actually is a tamale professional, please excuse me, because I taught myself how to do this, so it might not be exactly the way that everybody else does it. So there's the dough, and then you just take a little bit of your filling, so this yummy pork and spinach and black bean filling, put that in, and then I'm just going to roll it. Boom. Now sometimes people tie them, but I don't think you need to. And you just make these little logs that you're going to steam for about an hour. I have some going on the stove already. They freeze really well. We definitely make these for Jacksonville Mountain Guides. We hike these up. These stay in the freezer for several months. And it's just great comfort food. I make a vegetarian version, which instead of pork, I use sweet potatoes and spinach and black beans, which is also delicious. You can put in a little cheese if you like, some Latin cheese, some queso. And you know, eat tamales with all kinds of condiments, pico, guacamole, whatever you have on hand. So I'm just gonna make maybe another couple more of these so you can see how they're done. So corn husk, homemade masa. Well, I didn't ground the corn myself, but you can buy really good masa in the grocery store. A little cumin and fresh corn, and then the pork and spinach and black bean and onion insides. Good, and then I'm gonna take those to the stove and steam them for about an hour. Okay, while the tamales are steaming on the oven, I'm going to make a quinoa tabbouleh to go with them. Now, I wasn't able to make as many tamales as I wanted because the recipe probably would make at least a dozen. But that filling can actually be frozen and you can take it out when you're ready. So this quinoa tabbouleh, quinoa is a high protein grain that you just cook like rice. And I'm going to add in cucumbers, which are typical for tabbouleh, peas, mint, and parsley, which are both sort of the main tastes in a tabbouleh, along with lemon juice and olive oil. And I'm going to put in some shredded carrots as well because I just want to, and it's pretty and it'll be yummy. So parsley, mint, lemon juice, olive oil, cucumbers, peas, a little salt and pepper, and you have the perfect side to go with your tamales. So let's go take a look at those and see if they're ready to plate. I am ready to plate these tamales. Yummy, and I have plenty for later. Look at all that, I can freeze that. So these tamales have been steaming for about an hour, and I'm going to make it pretty because I like it to look pretty. And I'm going to start with my quinoa tabouleh, which will be a nice flavor for underneath the tamale. Plate that up. Then I'm going to take out the tamale that's has been steaming in this corn husk, and just either you could serve it in the husk for your guests, or just gently roll them out of the husk. You've got that the pork, and you have the spinach. Look at that. See how when you steam it, it really sort of brings together the masa so that I actually can hold it and pick it up and it won't fall apart. My husband eats these for breakfast, I have to say. There you go, beautiful tamales. And you could even have a piece of samurai bread with your white bean dip on the side. That would be good. There's no reason why you have to just eat this in the beginning. And then we're just waiting for the final dessert. I've been so nervous about making them that I thought maybe they won't work. But chocolate lava cake. I don't know if any of you have made it before, but it's kind of a first for me. And I thought it looked easy, but it actually takes some technique. And luckily I have help today. So that's going to be coming right up, chocolate lava cake. Who's ready for some tamales? Pork tamales with spinach and black beans and onions over a bed of tabbouleh, side of samurai bread bruschetta, and the final is our chocolate lava cake. Woohoo! Oh my gosh, let's just see how well we did with this, because this was oh my gosh, it's perfect. Look at that, chocolate lava cake. Thank you for joining me. Please visit us again at Okano's Kitchen. And I really look forward to teaching you more tips at home for what you can do at home or anywhere you go, on your next camping trip, making a meal for a friend in need. And all the recipes on my episodes will be in my cookbook. I'm making a special edition of Okano's Kitchen for Eat This TV, and all the recipes from these 12 episodes will be in that book. Look out for it. It'll be on my website, Okano's Kitchen. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Welcome to the Mountain Guides. They operate 5 mountain guiding companies in the American West. The Mountain Guides of Utah, the Mountain Guides of Red Rock, the Mountain Guides of Montana, the Mountain Guides of Colorado. Their flagship operation in Jackson Hole is based in Jackson and leading trips all over the high peaks of the Rocky Mountains. Join their custom mountain adventures led by experienced guides in the iconic destinations. For more information, log on to themountainguides.com.